You know, that's why you're the witch, bitch.
That's right.
Wow.
So tell us, you're Ashera. Tell us, Ashera, introduce yourself to us.
Well,
or to me.
I'm Ashera.
Hi.
That's my name.
Okay.
And,
don't wear out.
Well, Amy, you said you're a healer, and when you said that, it was interesting because, like, I don't necessarily say I'm a healer, or like people say I'm a healer, I'm this and that. I'm like all of us,
right?
Really. And that's one of my things is that we all are our own healers.
Right.
I believe
we all
that.
are our own. We can only heal ourselves. I can't heal anybody. They have to be ready to heal.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm Ashera.
Okay. So then, what do you call yourself, Ashera?
I'm a healing practitioner. I know that's play on words, and for you guys, you might be like, oh.
No, because you're wanting to empower other people with their healing.
That's
I like
the
what you're
energy,
saying.
because a lot of times people go to people to get healed.
Fixed.
Or they get fixed. And I think we are all already whole and complete.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just remembering that. So I call myself an energy medicine and shamanic healing practitioner. I also do sound healing and other things, but
all right. So you're a
coach
Jackie
too.
Of all
coach,
things
yeah,
healing,
life coach.
a life coach. Okay, so we want to talk about some of these things then today, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. So
What?
what would you say? What would you say the biggest part of your practice is, or where you find the most fulfilling work in what you do?
Well, I feel so blessed because I love what I do. I love to help people and assist people, and it's so creative because everybody is a unique, like a puzzle, and we all, even though we all have similar stuff going on, but everybody is unique. So, I love to assist people on the path, and some of the things that I love doing is reminding people that they are their own healers, exactly that, and showing them how to heal themselves. So
how's that?
How's that?
Yeah. How do you diagnose sort of where healing in one begins?
Right.
Yeah. Well, again, everybody is different, so I can't give you like the magic pill, but what I can say is that when I'm working with somebody, and I do that on the phone, in person, in groups, on retreats, or wherever we get to the place where they feel stuck. So one of my biggest questions is, what do you want to let go of, or what is challenging for you?
Right.
And what do you want to bring in, not from the outside, but what is that, that spark, reconnecting with people with what their spark is. And some people, that spark is like a little volcano ready, and some people it's just like a very tiny pilot light that just needs a little bit of attention too.
A little oxygen.
So it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
To remind people and bring people back into their body and themselves. Just
how do people find you, ultimately? Like, really, it's interesting because we do kind of just know each other, and you're around like-minded people, and so that happens. But how did you get to the point where this is a business, and this is where you knew that I used healer, but where you knew that I have a real skill set, and I'm going to take that skill set and take it to others and create a business?
Well, people find me in interesting ways. A lot of word of mouth. So I'll work with somebody, and they have such huge shifts, and they're so happy they just tell their friends, and they call me.
You've got to call this woman,
And then, but randomly, I do get people. I work with. I have some people that I'm working with in Mexico and the East Coast, and I don't even have all that Google. I'm not a techie. Analytics of like keywords.
You can run your business without Google?
I do run it with Google. But all the keywords.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the biggest one, the keywords. Yeah.
The keywords. But people just find me. Or, there'd be hundreds of retreats, and someone said, there was something. And so for me, that's just there is something bigger than
Right,
this here and now.
absolutely.
There's
Right.
a bigger field where I have an energetic, I have my guides, my allies, and they're connecting with Amy's guides and allies, or
exactly.
somebody else is out there and
Right.
going, okay, go on at this specific time, and this is going to show up for you, and this person is going to help you help yourself.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, it happens. We're guided to work with one person over another, and there's no one person isn't going to give you all the answer, but at different times. So it's kind of like that. I think just people find me that
And when
way.
you started, how did you feel about, how many years has it been now?
It's about 15
Yeah,
years.
okay.
What
So,
is-
just that she's been working
you've
in
been
this
doing
field.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I mean, but since I've been helping others, but you know, it kind of started.
when did it,
Naturally,
when did it
yeah,
shift
that's when I was a
naturally.
kid,
in your
yeah.
brain? When did it shift in your brain that you were done with the work that you've done here for now and you wanted to share it with others?
Well,
I mean, we're
I
never,
actually
we're always,
wasn't done.
yeah, we're always working. Yeah.
You know, I humbly say I'm not one of the people who say, you know, I've got everything together. I don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty is there's a compassion that we're all on the path. Once we're done, why are we like we're
Right.
enlightened, completely enlightened? You know, that's why we're here in
Yeah,
these bodies,
right.
To learn the lessons we need to learn and grow. But yeah, to a point where I felt like I was ready to kind of share this with people. I guess, you know, I spent a long time doing a lot of healing work for myself and working with other people. And I had some pretty dark times, you know, pretty rough times. I wasn't one of these people who grew up with, you know, just everything was great all the time. There's not many of us, right?
Right.
But like that. But still, I had some rough years and big challenges. But I decided at one point when I was doing this deep work, I was doing energy work and shamanic healing work. You know, I can tell you more about that. And I ended up when I was in Peru. You know, that at that point, I felt like when I started to go forward and do work over there, there was something. I was already doing some work with others, but I realized myself that, you know, I would work with people and it would have an effect. And even though I was still working on myself, I realized that there was something I could be of service
And you were
to.
really fulfilling yourself and as
Yeah.
well.
That's really one of the
Yeah.
reasons that you and I do what we do is sort of for that same basic reason that by sharing
Right.
information and experiences with other people and learning about their experiences, we're helping ourselves too. I'm an avid RuPaul fan. I talk about RuPaul far more than I probably should without him paying me.
There we go.
But-
Not yet anyway.
but-
He could start paying you
No.
someday.
You could at least just return some of my calls. And I would consider that payment enough. But I'm a huge RuPaul fan. And not really just because of the whole entertainer, you know, image that we see on television and
Right.
whatnot, but because of the person that he is. And his podcast, it's an amazing podcast where he shares about himself and the human side of his troubles
And you've watched
the
him
dark
evolve.
side of it, and you get to see how that dark side of humanity is really part of what makes you great so much of the time, and by celebrating that and bringing that into the conversation,
Right.
I mean, really, that's kind of what
Well,
I've learned how to trust most.
We only celebrate the dark, I mean, not the light moments usually. It's the highs. And that we have to
Right.
recognize that the lows create the highs. And so those should also, even though they're painful, have their own celebration. I'm going through them, I'm learning
and their own
too.
value.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
There's a value assigned to those dark times.
I always say your greatest wound is your greatest gift. It is. It's like the compost. You know, you throw the compost out. Without the compost, you're not going to have your beautiful garden.
Right.
You know,
So
and
true.
so it doesn't mean you stay and live in the compost bucket.
Right.
But
God, no, it's so
you know,
rank.
that you just like this has it's fed. It feeds my garden. It's something, or there's something once you know. And for me, that's what it was. And I know with a lot of healing practitioners, they've gone through in order to be compassionate, in order to understand that we all go through huge stuff. The difference is, can we decide to to put it in the compost it, not get rid of it.
Right.
Compost
Use it.
and
Use it. Yeah.
And
I
use
love
it, and
that
not
you
hide
use
it, and like,
compost
oh my God, I'm the
as
only
an
one who's
analogy.
gone through this.
Right.
But and then also not just only be that, but we're just multi-dimensional beings.
Absolutely.
Really. And
Absolutely.
celebrate both. Integration is a big thing. Yeah.
It really is, and the fact that we talk about it now, I think helps so much because if when you're shut off and your heart is just feeling stuck, and we talked about stuck, and I want to go into stuck a little bit more than you, and then you just ruminate and the same things go over your head over and over again, and but then all of a sudden you see somebody else that maybe is going through the same thing, and you're just like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not alone, and they got through it, and maybe I can try and be brave enough to try, but stuck is a big thing, I think, and how do these individuals do they even know they're stuck? Or sometimes you have to let them go, yes, you're stuck, and we're going to move you through.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Good question, Amy, because sometimes people are just so used to being in a certain way of living life and don't see that there's something else. So the biggest thing, and this is super important, is to recognize, to give a perspective. I like to use the analogy of the eagle view. I love eagles. We all, the eagle. And getting a vision, a vision of the eagle. And so it's not, we can't heal from just the level of the mind. It's, we can say, oh yeah, I want to heal. I'd love to feel better when I wake up get out of bed in the morning. But it has to be a shift in the way we see things, the way we view things.
Perception.
Yes, exactly. So I assist people in shifting their perception. It's the issue is there, but shift and step and get a bigger view and be comfortable with stepping out of our own story. So identifying, identifying, yes, this is the old story. This is the old the old Amy or the old Ashera. This is what, she went through this. Okay. And how to step away from that. So there's different processes. And I always say healing happens on 4 different layers. And if you just have one, it's partial and it's helpful, but it has to be 4 in some ways, which is physical.
Yes.
There we go.
Get your pen and paper.
I'm ready. Okay.
But you won't be able to heal it
3,
unless
4.
you do, really, I really feel like that deep level of healing that we all, and there's different ways to do these 4 things, but one of the first one is the physical. We know that, therapy is important. I, personally in my 20s, I was in therapy.
I don't know why everyone
Talk me
has
through
that.
it. Yes.
And so talking about things is important.
Right, it is.
To tell your story. But then
Don't
the
keep
story
retelling
is
it and
being told.
retelling it.
So physical means being embodied. And so a lot of people, including myself in the past, I'm sure, all here, everybody has this distance from their feeling body if they're going through real challenges, especially trauma. And so there's a sort of exiting from the body, or there's excess pain in the body. And so physical means reconnecting with the body, inviting people to find, so maybe that's, there's lots of things I'll do, just guide them through just breathing and experiencing where they're feeling the challenge in their body. And that's beyond the story. So that's number one.
Does that usually happen in like one sitting? I mean, is it easy for
It can
people to
happen in 5
open that up
minutes.
and let that out? Or do you ever work with people who it's really hard for them to let anything out?
It is, but for some reason, I'm not quite sure why, but when people sit with me, and a lot of my sessions are on the phone and distance, I just ask the right questions, and people feel comfortable to, what is it, where are you feeling? There's some little techniques I have to get people in touch with their feeling body and their feeling state without going into it like a traumatic, replay, but just like the feeling, the color, the texture, like to really kind of get current and You know,
breathing.
but
We breathe
visualize
so
breathing.
shallow that if
I
we were,
do. I feel the difference every year
Yeah.
of my life. I feel the difference. It's more suffocating.
yeah, and it's like we're panting all the time. Like,
Yeah. It has nothing to do with the extra 30 pounds
Right.
on me.
Right.
Nothing.
So breath is a part of the physical too. So I
Okay.
do some, help people do some breathing.
Breathing.
So physical
Okay.
is the first level.
Fabulous. Tell us number 2.
Number 2 is so the physical, the breathing, and then the mental is there so they can understand what the issue is. Where it came from. Okay, you're right. When I was a child, I didn't feel this way, or I've had this. That they can put it in a view, but it's mentally kind of understandable without having to ruminate on it.
right, the emotions aren't necessarily there in that moment. It's more like, this is the
Right.
statement of what I'm working
Yes.
on. Okay.
Yeah, and then the physical is the breath and being embodied. And then the third is the emotional. Number 3. So
Okay.
you can say number 3.
Number 3.
is emotional,
Okay.
which is connecting with the emotions. So a lot of times when people are going through stuff, could be, I'm eating, overeating or drinking or, little addictive habits, repetitive thinking, or there's things where people are not actually letting themselves even feel. I'm not talking about emotional outbursts. I'm talking, I'm noticing I'm feeling really sad right now. Let me just feel this. And knowing that it's okay to feel it for a few moments. Because if you don't feel it, you can't heal it.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that's our bumper sticker right there.
Well, and RuPaul says,
Okay.
RuPaul says,
You're going to be a RuPaul fan after you're done here.
I'm working, it's my mission
RuPaul.
to get everyone to love RuPaul.
I don't even know who RuPaul is.
You don't?
He's a drag,
You don't know who RuPaul is hosting
Okay, I need some
Saturday Night
education.
Live.
Oh my
We're gonna
gosh, I
have a
haven't watched
chat.
it in years. I gotta get back to watching
RuPaul,
Saturday
okay,
Night
so
Live.
RuPaul is
6'7".
6'7" drag queen who has brought drag arts to the mainstream and created an Emmy award-winning program and it really goes very much behind the scenes. And what I love so much about the program is that all these outcasts and misfits from society that some people are labeled as by others who don't see them in an equal or a celebratory light get a really great platform to shine. And that's what RuPaul has done. It's really created a following and a whole culture of acceptance for people who, otherwise might be the bullied and the outcast and the teased. So I love the content. But what Ru says is when you're looking at your life and you're looking at the things that maybe hurt or from your past, it's always good to look, but don't stare for too long, because that's when you lose the momentum to keep going forward. And I think there's so much truth in that. Look at it, just don't stare for too long. And I really try to do that with the things that sort of get me stuck.
And so on number 3, the emotion. So your emotion and that, so stuck on emotion, feel the emotion, feel the sadness.
Feel it, move on.
Right, feel and move on.
Move on.
And number 4.
Yeah, so just a last note on that feel. So it's not so much emotion's getting stuck in it, but feeling okay as this is a color, this is a temperature, this is in my body, so it kind of goes with the physical emotion. And then I feel it, and there's a gift in it. And then number 4 is the most important, actually, which is a difficult one, because I feel like a lot of people have lost connection with this, and this is the spiritual.
Oh.
But it's not necessarily the mass
Right.
spiritual. It's your own connection with your own spirit. Reconnection with your spirit. Like, who is Ashera's spirit? Like,
Why are you here? What is your
It's not necessarily.
purpose?
It can be connected. Maybe you do go to church, or maybe you go to. These are that's more. Religion, but really your spirit. Why am I here? Something bigger. That's the equal view. It's something bigger than myself, and to help people connect with their own spirit. I'm not saying this is your spiritual path. I mean, we've got enough behind us in the centuries
Of that, yeah.
Coming back to awakening,
Yeah.
this energy of finding your own spirit and finding your own gifts and finding that connection on a daily basis. And I think if each of us is really connected to our own spirit, whatever that means for each of us, like really feeling that. And it's so elusive, because even I'm saying, I'm like, well, some people, what does that mean? It's like, well, yeah, so I can't take you to connect you with your spirit by talking to you about it. So when the sessions or the workshops, there's an opening that happens where we connect you with that space. And I think spirit's in the space of the pause. It's the presence of the timelessness. So when people step into this timeless, it's been called the 0 point or the timeless creation, or when you're in deep meditation and the past and the future dissolve and you're just here and there's pure light. When you get to develop a relationship with that, then there's something bigger than just you and your story, and the healing really can.
I also feel like things
Yeah.
become so much less work.
Yeah.
You just kind of go with the flow, and then you're connecting, and the people come into your lives. They, like you said, they're just coming to my lives when it's their turn and they need me. And but when I think about that, and we talked a little bit before we started on your trips to Peru, and how long have you been doing the trips to Peru?
Well, I think it's about 7-8 years. I'm on my 13th or 14th trip there. I
And
can't
what are
remember
they?
which one. I kind of. What are they?
Yeah,
Well,
what are these?
It is to connect people to their own spirit. And I think these trips, to go back a step, it's like we're in a time, we all know, where things are hitting, what is hitting the fan.
Yeah.
And we're in a place where people are waking up, and sometimes that's uncomfortable.
It is. It's very painful as it's like birth. Birth
like
can be
birth.
really tight and squeezy.
People
And
are
then,
like,
It's scary. There's just an element of fear that goes into it,
Yeah.
even if you're, usually a fearless person.
Right.
Yeah. And we're waking up to, the divine feminine, whatever, people may understand what that is or not, but this essence of having a personal relationship to your spirit is a part of the awakening, and connecting with the earth, not just consuming on it, reconnecting with something bigger. And so the Peru journeys are amazing. I mean, when I went there, I just kept on going back, and every person that goes there, and what they are is spirit. You're connecting with the land and spirit.
So I wanted to just interject really quickly. What got you to Peru the first time?
That's a long.
Do you already know?
No.
Oh.
Well, we might have touched on a little bit here and there,
I was
but
like, see, you already know these things. I love it.
So there's two stories. There's the physical world layer, and then the spirit layer. But I had some real challenges in my 30s, and I had been doing a lot of personal work, and I went through something really challenging, and I was called to spirits. I was on kind of the energy medicine, shamanic work, doing my own healing. And before that, I was doing healing with another group, and it was really hard, actually. It was very difficult.
The work was? Or
for
what
me,
you
I
were
was clearing.
coming to terms with?
Yeah, I was coming to terms, and I was clearing.
Okay.
But shortly after that, I was realizing I was working in actually Mexico a lot in the Toltec tradition. Miguel Ruiz. I studied with one of his apprentices, and I did some initiation. They were really tough. It was very hard, and I was like, And I was teaching yoga at the time. One of my students brought me this CD from Alberto Vilda, one of my teachers, and it was like, yes, this makes sense. It's more of a feminine approach. It's more receptive and loving, less judgmental.
It was gentler, yeah.
Deep but gentle. And I was like, gosh, I got to train, and I didn't know how I was going to do it financially. Got a job, exactly the right money. The next week, it was just spirit was like,
of
boom,
course,
boom, boom, boom.
yes.
So to make a long story short, I did that training, and then I ended up in Peru. But after that, I stayed, and I had realized. So this is the other part of the story. since being a kid, I had some seeing abilities. I was very sensitive, and over the years, I'm a dreamer. I dream a lot. And when I got to Peru on my first trip as part of my training, I got into the taxi. I went a week early, and I was in the truck going around, and there was these like flashes, like in TV movies. I saw this flash of that, and they were dreams that I had. I was like, okay,
I'm
it's
in the right
happening.
place.
I'm in the right. So I was there, and I
think
kept on
that
coming
happens to
back.
us in life more than we're often aware.
It's been happening a lot to me
Me
lately,
too.
so I definitely know
Yeah.
that there are some big shifts going on, and I used to be afraid of it because I had some tragedy in my life, and so I was always, when I would see those, I was thinking something bad was going to happen, and so I'm embracing that, no, it's just life, and it's not going to be bad, and I kind of, my eldest son has a little bit of that too because of the tragedies that we went through, and I'm always reminding him, doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be, honey. You don't have to look at the lens that it's, something, like as soon as something good happens, he just thinks the bottom's going to drop out. You know? So, but yes, those are happening to me rapidly right now. So you were in Peru and you started to see, and you're like, this is where I belong.
Yeah, and some incredible synchronicities happen in different, even for years as I kept on going back, I would come to places that I had almost forgotten the dreams that were significant. I didn't know where they were. And then it was like, that was the dream.
Yep.
That was the special dream. So I was journeying there before. So my spirit was, I don't have a Peruvian lineage. But, I do actually. And my personal ancestry. But, I think, I believe, and I people do. I think, we have different lifetimes, and our soul goes through different incarnations, and I was there, and it brought me back, and it was open.
In a different role, maybe? Or
So this was how long ago that you lived in Peru?
I'm going to be really bad here because
Ish.
I'm really
Ish.
bad with dates.
Wait,
Maybe that's part of my
Was it years
timeless
ago?
travel.
I think it was years ago, or?
Probably 13 years ago, my first
Okay.
trip.
Okay.
Approximately.
All right. So since you lived there?
No,
how long did you live there?
about 3 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, 2.5.
So
3 years.
I was just trying to gauge how long you've been
2.5.
back
Yeah.
in this, in our American culture.
Yeah. Ooh, different. Yeah.
How's that feel? Because I mean, having traveled, even when I'm traveling internationally for like 10 days, I mean, that's long enough for me to come back to my home country and feel like it looks so different.
Right.
Change
your perspective.
So like to be in a different culture for that long, I'm just curious with where we are now in our society and with this volatile time that we're in. How does it feel? That element of being back.
Well, when I first came back, I was very inspired because there's so much light there. There's, it's a whole different perspective. People there, in their feet, in their ground, and in their heart, and this fear energy that is pervasive, especially in the U.S., but in all of North America. People, well, why am I having a hard time? Well, it's not just you. It's a lot of people, and it's energy. I believe in energy, and we're all energy, and we're affected. So over there, the fear levels are,
so anxiety is low, and
there's a heart. One of the words is munai, love from the heart, is a big for the Caro, the people that live high in the Andes. They're from the heart. It's all about balance. So it's like a softening of energy. So when I first came back, there was both this inspiration to share. I'd come back in the summer for a few months, and then I'd go back and to share. But sometimes it was like a rocky landing because, the contrast was so great in terms of, wow, that energy is, it's still strong in a different way. It's strong in terms, it's not just, let's just have a holiday. It's strong. It'll bring stuff up. It'll hold it. Where here, things come up for people, but people have to there's a lot of stress in making a living and doing this and doing that. And so I think there's both this sense of, for me, I'm part of the reason I came back was I need to share it. Even though I was doing distant sessions, I need to be here in the belly of the beast and share
Absolutely.
more of this energy and just being. And that's why I love going back, because I come back with this brightness. Maybe we do this interview when I come back from Peru. You'll be like,
She's glowing.
Maybe we should just have a conversation and just all three of us do one from Peru.
There we go. I know. We
Top of Machu Picchu.
I know, it'd be amazing.
Beautiful colors there. It's just, I mean, it is an experience a lot of times in stepping into what I was talking about, that presence, that space of, when you're in deep meditation. And we can access it anywhere. We don't have to go up, take a plane physically. A lot of times I'll just even close my eyes and connect with those mountains, and they're just that energy. It's all here within each of us, but it does help to
remove you from those cell phones and computers and get out of there.
Your daily.
So here's so
patterns.
Here's something I need help with, and I'm sure that there are other people that need help with this too. And that is, I've spent time practicing. I've spent time investing in myself, into healing and working through those. And by the way, I wanted to recap and make sure that we remember them. Step 1 was physical. 2 was, don't tell me, no. I had this earlier. I did.
Like stating what it is.
2 was 2. Well, emotional is 3. But what was 2?
Or wasn't it like
mental?
You're stating what the issue is.
That. So physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Okay. So as we're talking about these things, what I struggle with is I've done these things. I've read the books. I've done the self-help. I really have read the books, by the way. I
always tell him it's Cliff Notes.
Except for that one.
It's Cliff Notes.
I have read.
And it was for your husband.
I promise.
It was for your husband.
That's the Boy Scout symbol, right? That's the Boy Scout symbol. Okay.
Or it's the proctology symbol. I know.
No. Anyway, but for me, it's the refreshers that I need to go back to. I don't prioritize the maintenance of it in my life. Those 4 layers, I'm with you on how important they are. But I lose track of those 4 layers when I get caught up in the everyday. What's something I can do to remind myself? I mean, is it as simple as just setting it on my calendar? Is there, I don't know, a wise way that I can remind myself to stay in touch with my practice?
Yeah, so you said the key word there.
I did.
Which is practice.
Okay.
And it's, first of all, deciding the decision, this is important to me, and finding, and this is what I help people, not just with sessions, with coaching, to come up with something, whether it's 20 minutes every morning and 20 minutes before they go to sleep, or if they only have 10 minutes, and then maybe increasing it 3 times a day. But it's not about just sitting in meditation and doing that, but it's creating something that you want to do. So instead of going, okay, here's my list, I gotta go to the bank, I gotta
meditate for 5 minutes.
Right? Okay, is it over yet?
And the whole 5 minutes you're thinking about what you're gonna do in the next 5 minutes.
Right.
You're
which is not meditating.
Yeah,
right.
It's not relaxing at all. Yes.
Right, but it's finding I think that's what I'm talking about. The spirit, finding something that comes from you, how there's a practice of a lot of my clients. It's like we come up with something. What's the best time for you to do this? Some of them are 7 in the morning. Some of them it's 9. Some of them it's like I gotta be at the door at 7. If I try to it's just not gonna work. I'll make my bone broth or whatever. I'll do that, but that's part of my practice. But how can I, and until it gets to be in every moment. So finding a way, and again, it's not like I read the book here, I'm doing a spiritual practice here, I'm feeling emotions there, but all in that one moment, that there's a practice that you come up with it, that, I can help you create that little thing that reconnects you to and I think it's really about centering and grounding into yourself. And then you find that for a few minutes. And sometimes you're just closing your eyes and connecting with, if you've done a meditation or a shamanic journey, to connect with something inside yourself, or or just like a little song, like something has come for you, and then you just are with it for those few minutes. And then, you know, even when you're driving with it, you know, so it becomes, it connects you with you, and then it comes longer, not just those 5 or 10 minutes a day. Maybe it, you know, now you're ready for longer, and it starts to seep in, so it becomes a mindset of lifestyle change. It's not just
I think I'm hearing what you're saying. This morning, in fact, I was outside. I have a little raised bed garden, and there's some weeds in it right now. It's definitely not looking very good right
It
now.
needs some compost.
Yeah, there we go.
It does need some compost and just some weeds pulled. So I've been looking at it for about 2 weeks, and it's been super rainy. So there's more and more of it growing. They're getting bigger.
They're bright green.
And this morning I got just frustrated enough that I was sort of, I don't want to say I was spinning, but I was trying to separate from like the long work week into the weekend, and it takes me usually about half a day to forget about all the work anxiety and to just start to be able to focus on something different.
Right.
And I stopped, and I was just like, can't take it. I stopped, and I started just pulling some of the weeds in the raised bed garden, just because I couldn't, like, I had no plan to do it. I was in a bathrobe, if I'm completely honest. Bathrobe may or may not have a lot of dirt on it right now. But I started pulling these weeds, and and as I was doing it, I was feeling like I was very hyper aware of how good the dirt felt. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was almost angry at these dumb weeds when I dug my hands into the dirt. And almost instantly I was like, oh, well, that's not so bad. And I pulled weeds, and before I knew it, I felt better. Somehow.
I feel like we do forget to get our feet and hands on the earth. And we do forget to go out and do that more often, especially in the careers that you and I have. I think that makes it hard.
Very technologically driven.
I think that's a big part of it, reconnecting with the earth for each you know, and that's the time, like you said, your body, because you're in your mind, you know, and you're in your story. So the best way to do it is, you know, I tell people, go and lay on the earth, take your shoes off, get your feet on the ground. It'll shift your energy field, because that's part of vibration. And, you know, I do sound healing work too. So it's that vibration you're shifting. So you can't be thinking, you know, you're just like, put your feet on the ground, or, you know, the medicine people in the mountains of Peru, it's very simple. Let go of heavy energy, bring in light energy. How do you do that? The elements. The earth, the water, the air, the fire. Put your feet on the ground, cleanse with the earth, cleanse with the water, cleanse with the fire.
How other places in the world still can keep things so simple. You know, our lives are so complicated every day due to jobs and just lifestyle and all these things, these external influences. But yet, there really are places in the world where it's not like that.
Well, when you talked about the divine energy or the divine feminine, and that energy was more prevailing in Peru, or at least the teachings were, what did you explore with that there?
Well, they're everywhere, but but there it's the land which is called the Pachamama, land of Pachamama, Gaia, Sophia, Mother Earth, and it's everywhere. This whole planet is. But, and not all of Peru, I'm talking the Andes. Right. You know, especially outside of Cusco in the Sacred Valley, it's called. And it's the land of the Pachamama, is Mother Earth, and, you know, people are connected to the earth, their land. As long as they have a plot that is a small plot, which everybody does, could even just be the size of this table, where they're growing corn, they're rich. You know, and they go out and they connect with the earth in some way every day, sometimes, you know, the whole day. But there is this sense of connection to the earth, the stars, you can reach them, the light, everything is connected. And when we're connected, we're part of something bigger. And that's the divine feminine, the awakening to that connection to something bigger, and being part of not just taking from the earth, but giving back to her. Right. And that's part of a purpose too. So if we can even connect with that here in your life.
Are you feeling like we're shifting here in North America a little bit more?
I think there's both going on. I think there's like you know, kind
Like
of
the
a
one side is
split.
like, no.
Digging
and
in
then
their
the other,
heels.
and the other side's like,
Yes.
yes, here we come.
Right. And that's why
Yeah.
it's so important for each of us. Like each of us make a difference. You know, even in our small way, when you think, well, how am I going to make a difference? You know, we all, you know, some people think that. It's like, well, just your energy. You go into the grocery store and you're in a bright space, or you're open and you connect with a gift, you're going to affect somebody else's energy. And it ripples out. So I think we are seeing people are waking
Do you
up
ever
more.
feel negativity? Do you ever feel personal negativity in your own life?
Of course. I don't know
You
if
ever
I
hear
call
road
it.
rage?
Occasionally, you know, I think, but if for something comes up like that, like I feel like, you know, more when I go to Seattle and I'm on the, you know, 'cause people don't let you in. Like in Oregon, you put your flicker on, they let you in. They're just like, oh,
Yeah.
I love living here. Or over there, it's just like
Sorry.
you're like basically
You're like
you're
flipping
about
the
to
peace
be,
sign.
you're about
Peace.
to. So I don't have, you know, I may feel something come up. And then I realized, you know what, you know, later, and you know, and a good practice can be just, tone, scream, whatever, let it out. You know, it's better out than in, basically.
Yeah.
But what it's about is sometimes something bigger. It could be the collective rage. So, you know, when we're feeling upset, it's not just always our own personal story. It could be collective. It could be from your ancestors. It could be from the other person in the car, that if you're very sensitive, and I think a lot of people are
I do too.
more empathic, that they even know even what that word means, but they are, and they may pick up that energy from someone else, and then they feel the rage.
It is so transferable.
I am
is.
recognizing that now, and
Yes.
I'm being able to put barriers, and some of
Right.
those ways are the self-help or the self-soothing, getting your feet in the ground and breathing. Some of those things allow you to ground yourself so
Right.
you are not taking on other people's energy.
And when you're connected to your spirit, to your guide, you know, I have this practice where you fill yourself up with that light like a bubble, then you feel not like I'm protecting but just like it's coming from the inside out.
You're radiating
You
it.
can just purge.
Then you're not going to take in.
Is that what you
somebody
meant
else's
by,
stuff.
though, like the multi-dimensional being? Is that what you meant by that, some of that? Or what, when you were talking about that, what did you mean on that?
Well, possibly. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember back there, but
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of that. That we're not just these physical. We have energy. We have different layers around our field. Like, you know, if you did this to me, I would feel it. And if I, you know, if you kind of dropped in, I could be at the other side of the yard and you'd feel. That's why when I do healings, I could do somebody in Mexico or in the East Coast, and I'm just, they can feel when I'm actually have my hand, I feel something on my heart. It's like, well, I'm pretty far away. So our energy fields extend. So yeah, it does extend. So we are picking up things, not just from ourselves or families, could be from around the world,
Right.
even when we're sensitive.
That far.
And we don't know. Oh yeah, we don't even
Well,
know.
that would
you
be
know?
the quantum physics, right?
That's
That this
right.
side,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
susceptible to it, and I try so hard. But even yesterday, I mean, all these things I'm sharing with you, I do want to open up to you. I really do.
good.
You know, just a classic high stress week. And I went to lunch yesterday for sushi at one of those sushi bars with a conveyor belt. Very first world problems I'm sharing here. I'm aware.
Sushi goddess, tell us.
Okay, so stressful week. Yesterday, go to lunch. A woman takes the last parking spot in front of me and like just does like, have you seen fried green tomatoes?
Yes. Hits her because she's like, I've got better insurance.
Yeah. Face it, Grandma. We're older and faster. That's what they say in the movie. And she's like, face it, girl. Anyway, back to. So she takes the last parking spot. I see who she is.
Do you know her, or you just saw what she looked like?
I just imprinted on her. She took my parking spot.
Okay.
It was a stressful week. Then she walks into the sushi bar that I'm going into and takes the last table right in front of me. And I'm like, if I had gotten that parking spot, if I would have gotten that table, and so I was sitting there and I found myself this otherwise like really head person,
Like psychotic. You were
I'm like shooting daggers at this woman. She looks like a perfectly nice woman. She has her little kid with her. Like, in my head, I'm thinking terrible thoughts. I'm just like,
Like she did it on purpose.
She did to me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she did that. She's got, like in my head, I was so mad about this. And I knew that my negative energy that was coming from the stress of the week. I knew that it was, and I hated that I was feeling that way, but I still was.
Stop it.
I really couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
I like. By the time I finally sat down, I was just taking a bite of that sushi, but I was still looking at her.
Yes.
And I couldn't stop fixating.
Yeah.
I hated that I felt
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah. Definitely no. I mean, you and I had a conversation early in the week, and I felt very much attacked and wanted to lash out and had to do some work to get myself out of that as well.
Effort.
It takes a lot. A lot.
You know what the truth was? The truth, when I was like looking at the core of it all, I liked feeling that way in that moment.
Well,
I wasn't sorry about it when it was happening.
Oh, I want to hear about this.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The fact is, there's some part of that energy. It's like, it's infectious because it feeds a part of you. It I remember my teacher saying it's like, it feels that monster part, or that part that just, feeds on those negative energy. And sometimes you can't feel like you couldn't control it on some level. So yes, I understand that. So, but on some level, here's something you may kind of go, really? Is
Come at me, I can take it.
we're the creators of our reality. On some level, you created that situation, maybe so that you could feel those things that were buried in there that wanted to come out on some. I don't know the reason. I'm not gonna not in session with you.
Okay.
But really, you created that situation on some level. So
I think you're
and
right.
that woman,
I
and was
don't know what
in a
level,
way
but I
was
believe.
you. It's a reflection.
Yeah.
It's like we have these reflections that are part of us. Like we think, okay, that person's them and this is person, but we're actually co-creating. And I know this is maybe a stretch for some people, but I do think even the uncomfortable situations, our soul or our spirit's bringing them forward so that we can grow and we can make a choice just to go down that path and be, or we can be, and then realize, you know what, I got some stuff here I need to work on, and I need to get some clearing on this and some insight and how to deal with whatever's underneath this situation. Because it's not just about her cutting the law.
Right.
And it's not just about that. It's something far deeper.
Because ultimately, I knew it wasn't a big deal. I knew it was a first world.
You felt like you were out of control at work, and then you get to this situation and you're out of control again a little bit. And she just reminded you. Yeah. Which is no control when you're a victim, right?
I was a little bit more of the victim because I'm like, oh my God, everybody's coming for me this week. I'm like, seriously, people, what is it? Universe, why are you throwing everything at me this week? And I think that that's very natural to feel that way because it's just a natural, don't you think it's natural? Naturally, those waves come at us. I think the universe throws those issues at us on some level, but it's how we choose to.
But I think what Ashera is saying too is that you can really are in control of your universe, and you actually can start changing those before it gets to that place.
Right. You could create a whole different situation. And
what
in
would
that
the situation look like?
You rode your bike and you didn't need to park at all. I'm just kidding.
Well,
but it would get stolen where we live, so that bike didn't have a chance. I'd be walking, realistically.
Well, first of all, in that situation, you went into victim. Victim, perpetrator. There's a triangle called the triangle of disempowerment. Victim, perpetrator, rescuer. Whenever you are in any one of those spots, you are trapped. Someone's the perpetrator, I'm the victim. You're the rescuer, or we've got three of us. So, we could switch chairs. But the trick is to learn in that moment. You didn't really know how to step, your eagle had flown the coop. So you got to step into eagle perspective, into viewing above. And that means stepping outside your own personal story. and your own personal experience. And you can't just suddenly, oh yeah, okay, well I'll try to do that. You have to have experience and sort of start practicing and learning how, and there's many different ways to do that for yourself, but to kind of go practice what it feels like to step out and then create, you know, not be in that triangle, be in a different kind of reality where actually you get to say, okay, I'm going to go to the sushi place. I'm going to have the great parking spot. I'm going to have a woman my day, you know, magic. I'm expecting magic in my day. I'm not expecting more of this negativity.
So is this kind of, is that
mindset?
That feels like the law of attraction and what I'm bringing to myself.
Right, being a magnet for abundance instead of like the magnet that repels.
Yeah, and I, you know, and
when it's backwards, right?
I really, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I like this.
Did you? Just like, and you're this. I'm this. You're this. Right here. Goodness.
It's Italian.
So, okay, so right here, you did an amazing job with Matt. I love the scenario that you just had. So what other kind of people, and you talked about talking to people across the country and the world, who comes to you? Are business owners to, you know, who finds you? Is it all across the board?
I mostly work with women, but there are some men who are ready to do that work as well and work with me, but primarily women who are ready to step into, or anybody step into their true power and purpose. Like people that are really, you know, I've seen what my life has been up to this point. I see where it's going. If I follow this, I can choose that, or I'm willing to make some changes. And I'm not talking, you know, 5-hour meditation practice, or
right?
anything, but you know, some fundamental shifts and really, you know, okay, I'm willing to explore a life that is more fulfilling for myself, and that I can be of service, and I'm here. You know, everybody wants to be here to do what they're meant to be doing.
Right.
But there's a reason to really discover that. So I would say women, and empowering women as well to step into what, you know, real empowerment is, not just powerful, like, you're not the masculine power that woman, but you know, that there is both, because there has to be a receptive nature to tap into that field, as we call it, the attraction, that quantum physics field that is that energy. There has to be a receptive nature, an open nature, that's the feminine nature. So even though you're an empowered, we're all masculine and feminine, we have those two. So somebody who's really willing and, you know, is ready. And, you know, we need everybody we can get on board at this time, because if you think of your magnets, if you've got all these magnets in this pole and that pole, we want to have you know, everybody contributes.
So if I'm someone who's not necessarily fully in touch with myself, you know, I'm thinking, I know so many people who wouldn't know what quantum physics means.
Right.
Or so many people that
Divine feminine.
Divine feminism, or
feminism.
or
It's not feminine.
Shamanic healer, which, by the way, I did think sounded like a good drag name. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Shamanic healer.
Woo.
I just think it sounds right, catchy. But anyway, people who don't understand those type of things, they're not really in touch with that type of terminology.
That's right.
I know so many people that would not get that.
Yeah.
And on some level, I don't. But I'm curious, and I've got the openness, and I've got the curiosity to learn more about it and how it can make my life, you know, better and maybe more meaningful.
Right.
So, like, if someone isn't in touch with those things, or hasn't done, let's say, a lot of work, let's say that all they have is an openness.
Right.
And like, that's all they have. They're like, okay, my life sucks today. I hate where I am, and I
don't know how to get out of it, and don't have the skills.
I have no clue. I'm fucking dumbfounded with what I'm gonna do with my life here. All I know is I want to change, and I'm open to anything that will help make it better. Is that enough to work with you?
It is, because openness and a willingness is what needs to happen. And you don't have to ever know what quantum physics is about. You don't have to know. You know, this idea of shamanic healer. I mean, it's just,
Shamanic
I don't even
healer.
like that name, because it's not really describing what that.
So how would
the
you just-
energy. It's just coaching.
It's derived from shaman,
it's
right? Is it-
basically
Am I right? No?
Yes.
I have no clue.
That is, but basically it's just stepping into your power.
Okay.
Stepping into who you are is what I'm interested in. If you're interested in that,
We're going to
you
talk
don't
about
have
drag.
to
When
learn
we talk about stepping into power, you would like it.
kind of, lofty ideas or, you don't have to become somebody, sometimes these people who are so-called spiritual, it's, a facade. It's just about being authentically you is what I'm interested in supporting you with. Not to become somebody else or become spiritual, but just step into...
Be your best you.
Yeah, but if you're open to do that, I deal with different people in different walks, people that are business people are lawyers, people that are housewives, people, young women coming into their selves, people that have gone through trauma. Everybody has a different... And I'm not here to say, this is your path. I'm here to help you find what that is. It's a discovery process.
Do you ever work with anyone younger?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm a little older
Because,
than that.
yeah. I love that. Like you and I are of a certain age, and we're going through all of this discovery, right? But like if
Young
you think back to
people.
when we were younger,
I love working
all the
with young
confusion, I love that you work with young
people. Like
people.
I've worked with even 8-year-olds and teenagers.
I'm not surprised. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got baggage at
young
8.
women. I love working with that. That are
Okay.
just kind of coming forward. And pretty much anybody. It's it's ageless and timeless. We're all
Yeah.
beings that want to be happy, want to have. I think that feel free. And free doesn't mean that I have no respect. It's free is finding who you are and really living from that place, and knowing that that's possible. To have that inspiration. There were times in my life where I was not inspired, but I think remembering like what inspires you, and that spark again, that pilot light. How can you build on that? How can you grow that? So
Okay, my
the
last
lingo
question
isn't
then.
that important.
Couples.
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 Oh, couples. Do you work with couples?
Couples.
Individually, I'd work with couples.
Okay.
So, right, like one at a time because they each bring their own their own thing. I think there are plenty of people who work with them together. I think as a couple, one person has to be doing their work and the other person has to be doing their work. And then when they're both at a place, I have, I've worked with this woman who was, having a really hard time in her marriage. But, her husband wasn't willing to do any work. It's like hard for her to go forward. I mean, she still had to do the work for herself.
For herself.
Yes.
And by doing the work in yourself, things are going to shift with the other person anyway.
One way or
One way or another, exactly.
One way, it's going to help. So,
You'll go with them or
don't
without.
depend on the other person to do it. And, there are certain tools that couples need, like, communication and different tools.
Respect
together.
and care.
Right, right. But if somebody doesn't respect themselves, it's going to be hard for them to respect the other person. So I'd say, bringing that, dealing with whatever one part of the coupleship is needing is really important. But that's a good question because,
I'm so glad we got to talk today.
Yeah.
You really made me feel lighter. I can see why you invited her.
Well, and when you were doing the breathing, I was like breathing with you, and I was like, what? And then all of a sudden, I'm over in the chair a little bit more, like my overalls and stuff, getting more comfortable.
Yeah.
Did you feel it too?
And one of the things breathing is not just connecting with your body, but connecting with the earth, because we can ground in something above. So we have a connection and a centeredness. That,
I would love for people to walk away from this feeling like this isn't so far out there.
And not be
This really
intimidated.
is
Not be
right,
intimidated.
Don't be intimidated by this. This is like this whole conversation is not meant to be a prescription for, how to become someone, like you said earlier, different than who you are.
Right.
This is really just sort of
Find your purpose.
help you find just. I know this sounds so this congeniality stereotypical, but inner peace. I mean, really, I know when I'm losing my sense of inner peace. And if we can help spread that message more, no matter who you are, whether you're someone that I disagree with, publicly or politically or in the streets or whatever, like it doesn't matter. And we can all still feel that sense of inner peace that allows us to coexist on a different level that's better than where we are now.
Yeah, I like the word inspiration too. Just inner peace and inspiration, in spirit, in connection to ourselves.
Yeah.
And connection to.
I've never
something
thought about the
bigger.
word inspiration like that.
Connected to spirit.
Yeah, like in spirit. I never
Yeah.
even thought about that.
Yeah,
Is there,
inside.
Well, that's
is there an actual connection there? Is that?
That's the root.
Yeah, I've never even thought about that. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
I feel like a
Inspired.
complete idiot. not making that
Yes.
connection,
Well,
but
because
I
we've
mean,
been
that's why
enforced
we're-
in boxes our whole
That's why
life.
we're doing this today.
Breaking out of the
Well, you
boxes.
could make it to the top of Mount Peru, but you don't have to in
Oh,
order to be
gosh.
inspired. We have it,
Do you really go on that big old climb? There's the finger.
There's a lot of big old climbs up
Do
there,
you do that?
but it's not like a super duper hard.
Okay, good.
hard,
I get
but,
scared. Just ask
Do
my
you?
husband. Oh my gosh! On our 1 year anniversary, we climbed a mountain in Banff, and I thought I was gonna absolutely just come undone. We got close to top. I didn't make it all the way. I literally quit and found a nice little spring.
Well, maybe
and
this is
stopped,
what we need to
like
do.
About, like,
Get you to the
100
top of
yards
the
shy
mountain.
it. And I was like, nope, go without me. I'm done. I stayed there and I let him go without me. Our 1 year anniversary.
Oh my gosh. And he's like, what am I in for?
Oh yeah. We so almost broke up on that day.
So Ashera, if there is one thing that you would like to share with everybody about who you are and what they could do and just share it with us, what would that be?
Oh, that's a big and good question.
It is big, I know.
Well, not to lose hope, because that each of us has a special spark. I think that pilot light keeps on coming back, or that just little flicker. We each have something inside of us, and we're here on this in this crazy
It
world
is.
at this time, and it's not an accident that any of us are here. And anybody who's listening or any of us, we're here for a reason. And so I think really being open to listen and follow that inspiration. Maybe it's just something small like, I used to love dancing. Maybe I'll just I'm not going to go to the dance thing, but maybe I'll just turn some music on for 5 minutes and dance. I used to love painting. Maybe I'll just, instead of getting a huge studio, I can just use crayons. Or I used to love going for walks. To allow yourself to crack the door open, to connect with something outside of your story and your circumstance, and make space for your spirit.
Make space for your spirit. I love it. That's good. Good. You
Thank
did.
you so
That was
much, Ashera.
Yeah.
I really love that.
Yeah, that was good.
Definition of what the divine feminine is, also your definition of the divine masculine, and how do you see them operating together?
Tell me when you're ready to roll.
Oh, we're ready.
So, divine feminine. So we each of us have a divine feminine and a divine masculine in us. So what does it mean? I'm a woman, but I have both male and female in me. I have yin, in the different traditions you may call it yin or yang. In Peru they call it yanantin, misintin. They're energetics, they're poles. They, the active and then the receptive. So we each have the divine feminine aspect and the masculine. We're in a time on this earth where there's been the patriarchy has been ruling. It's all about that Judeo-Christian judgment. You're bad, you're not good enough. We didn't really touch on that. But so many people feel like they're not good enough, that they're bad, they're wrong. All of that energy that you have to work, it's like, crack the whip, judgmental.
Right.
That's the
Harsher.
the old masculine patriarchal paradigm that is now starting to recede. And incoming is this divine feminine, which is not just women. It's this
Me.
energy. Yes,
Me.
this energy.
You divine feminine you.
I'll be it.
This energy of just more
Nurture.
creative, nurturing. It can be active. It's not just all. It's this creative energy where we become more open, like to new ideas. I mean, 10 years ago, we would not be having this conversation. That people are becoming more open. It's a receptive energy. It's the energy of creation. It's the energy of there's a lot of ancient, it's connection with the earth. It's reconnection, that we can no longer continue to desecrate and abuse her, that she's a living being, that there's this feminine principle that's coming to life. This is the divine feminine. And we're here to help that within each of us, whether we're men or women, to bring that divine feminine that's open-minded, that's not, this way or the highway, that is more of that energy, and respect that energy and bring that forth. And then when the divine feminine comes in with the divine masculine is that active principle. It is, but it's not from a place of oppression, and it's not from a place of this is the right way. It's a place of, I give this example. When I was in Peru, I had some feminine teachers and masculine teachers, and feminine mountains and masculine mountains. And that masculine, it was like, I need to tie my shoelaces strong and get up that mountain.
Right.
I'm tired. I just want to dissolve, and I need some of that. It's fire. It's the sun. And it got me up, and I was like, and the mountain, the divine masculine mountain, was just, had a grand fall for fire energy. And it felt really good to connect with that. And then there's the feminine mountain that is like, go slow or just relax. And so balancing those two energies within each of us is really.
And we've been out of balance for a long time.
That makes a lot of sense too.
Good.
Really.
Good.
A lot of sense.
There you go.
What else?
What would you say the role would be for the divine masculine or men in this time of transition into the age of divine feminine or goddess energy?
So the role of men, both men and women are supporting this divine feminine principle, and it's not just nurturing, a woman, but that can certainly be part of it. But the role of the divine masculine is to make room for these new paradigms, both embodied in a woman and in themselves, to really, be in touch with their feelings, which men are so trained to, like, I'm not supposed to feel this. This is, it's not okay to feel. So, I'm not talking about them being women. I'm talking about just making space for a little bit of that, in a little bit more, but to support the divine feminine, not necessarily just women, but the divine feminine, the earth, to support the earth, to realize that they are part of the picture as well. Because if it's just, women in the divine feminine awakening, which is great, we need both. We need this divine masculine.
Otherwise, we're out of balance again. We don't want to be out of balance.
Like we have one and then we go to the other. It's marrying the two. That's the divine union of
that's
having,
within all of us.
Yeah, within all of us. So caretaking the earth, slowing down, getting out of the, being in the divine masculine is still being that pillar. It's that pillar energy, but it's making room for connecting the mind to the heart, I would say, is the thing.
Okay.
Where I would love to learn more about you, and I know there are other people like me who want to learn more about you. Where can they find you? Where can we get more Ashera?
Yeah, I'd be happy to be of service. And I haven't even told you, Ashera, what my name actually means. It's connected to the divine feminine, but
is it really?
Yeah. Actually, Ashera is an ancient goddess, pre-Canaanite. She spanned through Egypt, Mesopotamia before BC.
Cool.
300 to 3000 and beyond. And she was an ancient Canaanite goddess connected to the tree, or post of the tree of life, until Yahweh, the, very fearful, that masculine energy, judgmental God, eradicated all of this energy around the feminine. And this name just came in by happen. I didn't even know that.
That is crazy.
So, that's amazing.
Well, all I know is that I love your name, because the moment that Amy talked about you coming and introduced me to you, before you came, I kept just saying, I love her name. I love her name so much. It's just beautiful. And I couldn't wait to meet you. I've never known anyone named Ashera before. It's
Well, now you do.
Now I do, and I'm so glad. How do we find you after this
Yeah.
after this talk today?
Well, I'd be happy to be of service because we each have our own special gift. It's not, I'm not more special than you. We are all special. We are all unique. And so it's just finding that. So you can find me on my website, www.luminosityhealingarts.com. Luminosityhealingarts.com.
We'll put that on the screen too.
Yeah, we will definitely.
That's really
And your
great.
Peru trips, you do annual Peru trips if
Yeah.
people are interested for that.
Yeah. And you'll see me starting to do some walking a little bit more in March and April
Yeah.
around. They're not big treks.
Yeah.
But, just to be
Well,
able to
I know
figure
I'm going to
out.
go to your website and learn more about it. I'm really curious
Good.
about it.
Good.
I see. I
Make sure you do it.
don't have to read a whole book. I just have to go to the website. See, it's easy.
I know.
Right. And experience them. We can find some
Good.
practices so
Good.
next time you're in the sushi
Awesome.
place,
Yeah.
you get a prime seat
Keep
and
myself a
prime
little bit
parking
better
spot.
composed. I will. I'm going to bring something better to myself. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I thought it was
guys.
awesome.
It was really, really sweet to connect with you
Yeah,
guys.
I loved it.
We did a
Yeah, you did a great job.